Ow.
Welcome to the Best Picture. We're going to talk about Best Picture nominees. All right, so nominated for Best Picture for the 2015 Oscars: Whiplash, American Sniper, Birdman, The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Imitation Game, Selma, The Theory of Everything, and Boyhood. Boy, oh boy, do we got a good slate of films.
Let's start off by eliminating our least favorite.
Okay, American Sniper, get it out of here.
Okay, Imitation, get it out.
Who votes? Who votes to get rid of American Sniper? Raise your hand.
Okay, it's off. That no longer.
It's no longer
Nominated any longer. Okay,
Imitation Game. I haven't seen it, so I don't have a
votes do
vote.
we have to knock out?
At least majority.
I think The Imitation Game was one of the better movies of the year, but it's definitely on the lower of the spectrum for these.
Okay, I think the question is bigger than that. Okay, because the way they nominated things is just kind of ridiculous,
It's
right?
stupid now because it used to be 5.
Used to be 5.
Then it was 10, and then it was as many as we want between 5 and 10.
Yeah.
So
That's
now
the
it's
rule.
that, but so it's like they could have potentially nominated 2 more.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
we could all name at least 2 other films that deserve
Inception.
to be
Gone
in
Girl.
that.
Inception, Gone Girl,
Inception.
Interstellar, Interstellar,
Gone Girl.
Gone
Interstellar,
Girl,
Lego Movie.
Lego Movie,
Still Alice.
Still Alice,
Yeah.
Nightcrawler.
Literally
Yeah.
anything other than American Sniper.
Yeah, like
That's what I'm saying. So they had not only 2 empty spots, but
But
they had
some
other
wasted
films
other
that
spots.
you
were-
could have eliminated and replaced with far better films, in my opinion.
But it just kind of calls into question the entire method about, and you talked about this a couple episodes ago about the acting and just how
Yeah.
it feels like the Academy and their thing is a little out. I don't know if it's outdated, but just so archaic and it's just like almost kind of silly. Like, really? Why? Like, how is this a better film than?
Yeah, American Sniper has hype. It has the patriotism thing going on. It has a good performance by Bradley Cooper, and I think that's enough. And it has word of mouth. It has
It's
buzz.
trending.
I think it has. I think buzz is what's carrying that movie because even if you look at the critics, like everything is like up here in the 90s, and then Sniper's like 70. You know, it's passable.
I
It's
think
a
one of those
passable
films
movie.
that if it had come
Yes.
out earlier in the year, it definitely would
I
have
think,
not gotten a
Is it you,
nomination.
I mean, do we
Right.
think then that's why Gone Girl got kind of overlooked because it came out too soon?
I hope not.
Because to me, I thought that film had a lot of buzz. I
but
thought
I
it did have a lot of hype.
It did have a lot of hype, but it did kind of die out. But I think that movie
Okay.
really had a punch. It really kind of punched you in the face.
Yeah,
Everybody
the
who
feeling
everybody
that
talked to about everybody was talking about it for a while.
Right, and
I
the
think-
movie left me with a feeling that I haven't forgotten.
No, okay. Well, we're talking about American Sniper. We have a lot of biopics. We have a lot of biography movies.
Yeah, there's 4 bios.
and none of them really. I'm trying to remember what
The,
all
be-
of them
the
were, but
best one was
Theory,
Selma.
Theory of
Other than
Everything.
Selma,
Best.
Imitation Game. American
yeah.
Sniper.
Other than Selma, I wasn't blown away by any of the biopics.
I mean, I do think it's clear the Academy likes biopics because every year
Yeah.
there's
There's
a couple
always
that are-
biopics,
and, I mean, I think I want to say they're easy.
12 Years a Slave was a biopic, technically. It was based
Yeah,
off the real life.
But I
of
mean,
somebody.
even beyond, like just Abraham Lincoln, like it's easy to latch on to big characters, and then to tell their story. And most of them were adaptations anyway, so
Right,
it was
right.
just telling a story that had already been told.
And we've discussed Theory of Everything, we've discussed Imitation Game. They were solid movies. Theory of Everything a little bit better, but I don't think that they were really enough to like. They weren't powerful enough to kind of have what it takes to be in the top. Or
I mean, I
even win
think
this,
with all of the biopics, they did varying degrees of well done, good job. That's not the correct grammar, but
Well done, good job,
yeah,
great job.
for portraying the character, but trying to go beyond that and speaking to why that character, a good biopic humanizes and it kind of shows why they're important and blah blah blah. So Theory of Everything and Imitation Game to varying degrees. I think again, our American Sniper did not do that.
Right.
I honestly think we need to stop talking about how bad American Sniper
Well,
is.
it's,
I think it's
the
pretty
problem
clear
is
at this
never
point.
that it's-
Stop talking
First of all,
about
it's not that it's bad. That's not the. I don't think any of us thinks it's an awful movie.
It
But
just
none of us think
doesn't
it's
deserve
a
to sit at the big
great
kids
movie.
table.
And
It
that's
does- no,
the
it doesn't. It
that's
doesn't.
an issue.
It
That's-
deserves to sit on the SpongeBob
Right, I mean-
table,
So, anyways, right?
So, let's
I
talk
think
about
I agree that the
Grand,
Academy.
Grand Budapest
Well,
Hotel.
not yet.
Okay,
Not
wait,
yet,
wait.
because we're talking about biopics. Let's talk about Selma.
Haven't seen it.
Okay.
So Selma, to me, I wasn't going in expecting necessarily as strong a reaction as I did after viewing it.
Neither was I.
And
Yeah.
I loved it. Like, I was surprised how much I loved it. And I think this is a perfect example of how to do a biopic to make it fresh, to make it relevant, to make it more than just about that person while still telling that person's story in such a profound, deep, meaningful way. They did a unique thing where they just took like 2 weeks out of Martin Luther King Jr.'s life, but
you learn so much about him as a character in just that event.
Yeah, again, it humanizes him. It makes him more than just like this legendary figure that I had a dream. Like, that's who we know. Like, of course. But it didn't even show that. That wasn't even in the movie. Like, I'm going to make a Martin Luther King Jr.'s movie without the I Have a Dream speech. Like, what, are you crazy?
Right.
That sounds great. But it works. It's way better at like all these things.
It's also relevant.
In line with that, I would say Theory of Everything follows that exact same suit. Like, it follows Stephen Hawking throughout his life. You know, it humanizes him. He's by no means a great man in the sense of the way he acts in private. I mean, the way he interacted with his wife and stuff like that. Like, he was a very normal person.
I agree with you. I would say, though, I think Theory of Everything is a little bit more traditional in that sense. It doesn't take as many risks, and you just mentioned the relevancy.
Right.
I think Selma, and this is getting a little bit to another topic, but I think Selma, whether it was intentional, and I do think it was, or not, is very relevant to now. Like, it's one thing to tell a story about a great figure, but it's another thing to tell a story about a great figure and have it has so much meaning to our time and place right now. It's a reminder. Like,
right.
Look,
Not only was what he did important, this is why it's still important.
Let's talk about the other films.
Okay.
The ones that are good.
Whiplash, Boyhood,
Grand
Budapest, Birdman.
Okay.
Well, okay, those are our 4 top picks, right?
I think I can safely say that.
No, I like some. I would put Selma in the top.
I would put Selma and yeah, somewhere around there. That's maybe.
Okay,
right.
I haven't seen Selma, so it's hard to include that
Right.
at all.
Yeah.
But
Okay, let's knock out this conversation about Budapest, because as I mentioned in the director category, like this is
a lot of the same things.
It's a
coming
wild
back.
Who
card.
on
Yeah.
this panel likes Wes Anderson?
I like Wes Anderson.
I like Wes
We
Anderson.
all like Anderson,
but some people don't. A lot of people don't.
You're not going to like this film if you don't like Wes Anderson. It's not like all of a
Right,
sudden you're going to go.
Plain
He
and
has
simple.
nothing to do.
He's got his
to
niche
convince
crowd.
you anything.
But that's
First frame of the movie.
At the same time,
you
that
know.
isn't necessarily a reason to count it out.
Right.
I mean, your personal preference aside.
But I just don't think it's going to be enough for the win.
No,
Nah.
but I do think also we talked about how, Gone Girl was nominated too early, but this was released in theaters in
True.
Last year. So I think it says something also when a film that comes out in first quarter of the year to be nominated
Right.
for, like, I think, and have 9 nominees.
Yeah.
Like, of
Yeah.
all movies to have 9 nominated, Grand
A
Budapest
comedy.
Hotel, like,
A comedy of both.
Essentially, yeah.
it would be fun to see that win.
Yeah, but
I
it's
don't
got too
think-
much working against it, in my
And
opinion.
I just-
And
And I
in
think
love that
comedy.
film.
I think comedy works against it also because it just doesn't happen.
Yeah,
that
it usually
often for
doesn't.
Best Picture.
And in terms of, like, usually we like to see films that are relevant for the year they're released. I don't think Budapest has any kind. It doesn't have.
It's
like you
sort of timeless.
In 10 years, we're gonna forget when it came out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, Selma, like what you were saying, we're going to remember the time frame it came out because it was relevant at the time.
Yeah,
and I think
exactly.
Boyhood, for me at least, will
Yes.
hold
Yeah, I
true.
agree.
Yeah.
Maybe because of the way it's shot, the way Boyhood is shot, like in every frame, you can tell what time period it was filming. Like,
Yeah, and that's what I
there's
mean.
the
That's
film
what I
where
mean.
he's a kid, and he's got like DBZ posters on the wall and
Right.
stuff like that. It's very
Right,
easy
right.
to pinpoint where each scene
Right.
takes place in time.
So-
What does that leave us?
Oh.
My two favorites, Whiplash and Birdman. Which one do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about Birdman first.
Okay.
Everything.
Well,
Everything.
What can we say that we already haven't said in director?
Yeah.
Go watch that, guys, and then
Click.
Yeah.
come back.
Best directing. I mean, Birdman, maybe.
That was it disappearing.
I mean, weird's not a good word, but for lack of a better term, I do think it's the most out there. Right?
I think it's pretty polarizing
Esoteric.
too. A lot of
Yeah.
esoteric. I've spoken to a lot of people about Birdman, and some people just outright don't like it. They just think it's too weird, and not weird in a Wes Anderson way.
It's formalistic in a lot of sense. There's a slightly some experimental element,
Yeah.
maybe not even that far, but it's more than the traditional American Sniper or biopic.
This
Right?
is
Those are
gonna
very traditional.
this is gonna
choices.
break your movie watching experience. It's not your typical like how you get absorbed into a movie. This is a very active movie watching experience for me because it's different.
I think the way that it's shot, because it's just constantly people on the screen, they're doing stuff. I really love this film, but I also can see it being very draining to watch because there's
It is,
never really
yeah.
there's a couple time lapse shots. Other than that, things are just boom,
Yeah, you don't ever
boom,
get a
boom,
chance to
boom,
catch your breath.
boom.
There's-
Usually,
right.
films have a certain rhythm where you're like, okay, and then there's some action, then time to rest.
Right.
That kind of
It
rhythm.
takes a
This
lot of
one,
energy.
You're just kind of going, and you keep going because you're kind of expecting that rhythm to take place. Kind of how you're
Right.
saying, very
never
breaking,
does, though.
and never
It
happens.
never does.
So the whole time you're
Constantly
holding your
moving.
breath the
You're-
whole time,
you're
waiting to
along for the
release,
ride. You're
and you
just-
don't get that
Pretty
chance
much
until
as
the
soon
very
as it
end.
starts, too.
You're along
just
for the ride.
It's-
Oh, this is the nice intro. Oh, this is a fast-paced intro.
This is where we set the
this is-
stage.
Slow
This is
down,
the-
slow down. But the other thing too is because it doesn't follow that's very Hollywood traditional narrative. I mean, the director is, I don't know if he's Mexican or Spanish or
I think
European. I mean, he's not American director, and I think that is indicative of the film itself, or you can see that in the film. And traditionally, the Academy doesn't always recognize those, less traditional narratives.
But then at the same time, they also Gravity is from a good friend, Alfonso.
Yeah, but that's a very
Cuarón.
traditionally told story, right?
Okay,
It's you know what I'm saying?
yes.
It's very beginning, middle, end type stuff.
All right,
So
my
like-
favorite,
so
Whiplash. Chewy, take Whiplash.
I'm going to take Whiplash.
No, you take
Run with
Whiplash.
it. Take Whiplash.
Take Whiplash.
Own up to your mistakes.
Whip it, lash.
What did I
Is
say
this?
that
Is
for?
it a?
I don't know.
Even though it's fictional.
No, there's nothing biopic about it. Whiplash.
Look,
It-
it's a look. Whiplash for me.
Can you animate my head exploding?
No, I don't have time for that. Whiplash, I think, is just it's a crowd pleaser kind of movie. Like this is like it's just a like it's like you were
Everything's
talking
done
about how
right.
the tension. You guys were talking about how like it takes a lot of energy to watch Birdman. It also takes a lot of energy to watch Whiplash, but it's all delivered. It's all by the end of the movie, it pays off and it's catharsis. It
does.
It re-energizes you by the end of the movie. It's just one of those like it's. Yeah, you know what I mean? You just want to stand up and cheer.
I think also it's a challenging movie. I think maybe that's something also separates some of the films we didn't like as much. American Sniper, Imitation Game, and Theory of Everything. They're not really challenging movies, are they? Like
No.
what? But Whiplash, Birdman definitely,
Boyhood.
Selma. I mean, those are movies that challenge you emotionally, but intellectually. They make you like
They shake you. They rock you out of your just being able to sit in a movie theater and experience
that's
the movie.
to
You
me,
have to actively watch these movies.
Exactly.
And that's
I would,
definitely...
I would say that Whiplash is probably I was gonna say it's probably the only like real hardcore thriller of the group, but like
Thriller?
there's others. I would say, or suspenseful. Sorry.
Well, I do think that there was a lot of very suspenseful scenes.
Kind of going with
There's
the
suspenseful scenes.
the challenging. Well, right. The challenging nature of a film, like like when I watch the movies, I pretty much just react to it gutturally, whatever. And I was on the most edge of my seat of any other film than I was with Whiplash. I was definitely like more in like every
Engaged,
scene.
yeah.
I
and
was
no
very
more so
engaged.
than in the dating scenes. Where
Well, actually, no. All the drumming sequences, like
drumming
that's where,
sequence.
those were like the moments
Even-
where you're holding your breath. Like when he's like you're just holding your breath the entire time.
I mean, yeah, those are the best. Those are the most of it. But I actually, Chris might have been joking, but the scenes where he's on the date, the scene where he's having dinner with his family, there's tension
That
in the
is
entire
tension.
movie.
There's a lot of
That
tension.
Social
scene-
tension or whatever it is, there's tension.
that scene
Yeah.
with his family was fantastic. Like it totally just shows like a different view of the world because you got like the traditional kids that do sports that are just academically inclined, that get great grades, and then you have the guy that has his passion. And it just happens to be drumming, and people just kind of brush over that because it's like you're never going to be anything as a drummer, but it's something that he's so passionate about. It's like I can be one of the best at this.
I think the
Right.
movie works for me because that passion that he shows, the movie has that passion. I
Exactly.
feel like the
Yeah.
movie was made with that kind
And
of
like
passion.
while I think that was a great scene, and I like that they don't ever even go back to that because it said everything you need to be
Yeah.
said. And the movie itself is very concise and to the point.
Yeah.
But I felt like that wasn't necessarily anything unique. Like I think that a lot of films are made for the underdogs, and that's
Right.
I mean,
what
I-
I've seen consistently.
You mentioned the conciseness. I think that's maybe what I appreciate the most. It was such a very clean.
It doesn't waste a
Yeah,
second.
that
I
script
think
is
it's
so.
probably, I
just
mean, I don't
tight.
know, but I bet it's probably the shortest of the nominees, and I think there's something to be said for that. I mean,
Yeah.
especially now when movies seem to get longer and longer. I mean, usually there's certain genres that are more, but for a film to come out and it's probably barely over 90 minutes, maybe an hour and 40 minutes or something, and just to be getting it out and just like leave you with such a distinct, lasting, specific impression.
It's like a lean cut of meat. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, no
exactly.
fat. Like
It's
where's
just
going back to like
deliciously
Interstellar? I
perfect.
felt like there's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of fat in that movie.
There's
that
a bit of
would have
fat.
been cut to
I
make
love
it if we're
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like combine that style with Interstellar. Like man, that would have like a totally
would-
different
You-
film.
you talk
Not to say
about-
Interstellar isn't good, but
You talk about lean. It's just like with Whiplash. It starts already with action going on, essentially, and then it cuts right when it needs to at the end. It's
Yeah.
just like, boom.
It
Nothing
is-
more needs to be said.
Exactly.
This is
Boom.
the end.
Maybe one of my favorite endings to any movie.
Yeah. Again, just like the nature of drumming itself, right? It's just
Yes,
like you
on
jump in,
beat.
jump out, right?
Just
It's
boom.
Your tempo. Get to my tempo.
oh, Sean, not my tempo. Not Sean, not my
You're
tempo.
rushing. You're rushing.
Should we do our picks?
I think Boyhood will win, and I actually do want to see it win. I think it. We talked about a lot of things, but basically it comes down to I think it's the most important film of the nominees. Though I do think Selma is very, very important too. So I would actually like to see someone win. That'd be cool. But I want Boyhood to win. I think it will win.
Okay. I want to see Whiplash win, and for no other reason that I just enjoyed it. Pure enjoyment was so much higher than the rest of the movies on the slate. There's a lot of buzz for Boyhood winning. There's actually also a lot of buzz for Birdman. So I'm gonna actually put my money on Birdman. I think Birdman's gonna win Best Picture this year. Maybe a stupid decision, but that's what I'm picking.
Oh my god! I want Whiplash to win so bad. Oh, if Whiplash wins, I'll do something crazy. I don't know. We can decide later. But I do think Boyhood's gonna win.
Okay.
Boyhood for both. It was the film I connected with most emotionally on a personal level.
Because you were a boyhood.
Because at one time I was a boy. Yeah, everything about the film, I think it's relevant. It's set in the time it was perfectly, and it can never be replicated or attempted again.
All right. That concludes our. Stay tuned. Watch the Oscars and see what happens. Watch this Sunday for the Oscars.